Welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Mrinmoy Pramanik. I teach comparative Indian language and literature at the University of Calcutta. Today we'll discuss a module on Dharamvir Bharati's Andha Yug, and this module is from the paper Comparative Literature Drama in India. The content of this module is written by Abu Saleh, research scholar, University of Hyderabad. Now let us discuss, first see that what is the module about. This module introduces you to the renowned playwright Dharamvir Bharati and more specifically to his play Andha Yug. First, in this section you will be introduced to the life, career and other writings of Bharati which earned him recognition. Later on in this module you would learn about the play, its themes and critical analysis along with some other interesting facts. About the playwright Dharamvir Bharati. Dharamvir Bharati was born on 25th December 1926 in Allahabad, Uttar Pradesh. He lost his father at a young age that left a vacuum in his life and also financial difficulty for the family. In these difficult times, he managed to continue his education and received master's degree in Hindi from Allahabad University in 1946. After completing his masters, he worked more than 5 years as a magazine sub-editor of Abhyudaya and Sangam. After then, he started working for his PhD and got the doctorate degree in 1954. Soon he joined Allahabad University as a lecturer. He left the post in 1960 to join as a chief editor of the Hindi weekly magazine Andha Yug, which was being run by the Times India Group in Bombay. Under his editorship, the magazine earned wide circulation and he remained associated with it till 1987. During the free times, he continued writing and started being acknowledged. Further, he turned out as a prolific writer. He wrote plays, poems, novels, essays, and so on. For his literary contributions, Bharati was awarded Padma Shri in 1972, the fourth highest civilian award given by the Government of India. Further, he was also recognized with the Maharana Mewar Foundation Award in 1988. In 1989, once again, the Indian government honored him with the Sangeet Natak Academy Award, the highest national recognition given in the area of performing arts. Later, he was awarded the Maharashtra Gaurav, Kodia Nash, Vyasa Samman II. Dharamvir Bharati died in 1997 due to the heart disease. His most popular novels are Gunaho Ka Devta, Suraj Ka Sadvahan Godha or The Seventh Street of the Sun. Both the novels were made into film by acclaimed filmmakers. Suraj Ka Sadvahan Godha is considered as one of the foremost examples of metafiction in 20th century Hindi literature. It was translated into Bengali by the noted poet Maloy Rai Choudhury, for which he was awarded the Sahitya Academy Award for translation. Works of Dharamvir Bharati. The following are some of his prominent works cutting across various genres. Novels: Gunaho Ka Devta 1949, Suraj Ka Satwan Ghoda 1952, Gyara Sapna Ka Desh and Parambha Samapan. Poetry like Kanupriya, Thanda Loha, Sadgid Vers and Sapana Avivi. Plays like Andha Yug 1953, and he wrote essays like Thele Par Himalayas, Pashyanti Stories, Unka Hi, The river was thirsty, Nail Lake, human values and literature, cold iron, etc. Short stories are Swarg और पृथ्वी, बंद गली का आखिरी मकान, चांद और टूटे हुए लोग, समस्त कहानियां एक साथ, सास की कलम से. Literary style of Bharati. Dharamvir Bharati is considered as a modern creative writer whose writings are concerned with the immediate social and political issues of the time. He used elements of folk, chorus, and poetic style of writing in his play. He was one of the pioneers of the experimental movement in poetry called Prayogavada, which is known as Nai Kavita movement. Background of the play. Andha Yug is a verse play written in Hindi which was published in 1953. It was first staged in 1964 by the noted theatre personality Ibrahim Al-Qazi. The play is based on the mythologies of the Mahabharata. The play is one of the significant literary creations that were written soon after the partition of India and Pakistan. The play stands against war, hatred, and loss of humanity and life. Bharati writes, Andha Yug would never have been written if it had been in my power not to write. I was in dilemma when the idea of writing the play rose within me. It made me little afraid. I knew that if I set out to write it, I would never be able to turn back. Bharati in the prefatory notes of the play. Now let us talk few words about setting of the play. The play has 5 acts and an interlude. Interval can be planned after the interlude. The writer gives instruction of the setting in the play itself as a note to the directors, which indicates that the stage design should be simple and kept minimal. The playwright says there is a permanent curtain at the back and 2 more in addition. Scene change will be indicated through the dropping and lifting of the curtain in the middle of the stage. The proscenium curtain should be dropped at the end of the act. The curtain at the back and middle are not to be painted. The stage must be bare as possible. Lighting should be restrained and imaginative. Unquote. The choric song style is borrowed from Indian folk theatre tradition. Chorus is used to explain the significance of the action or to provide information that is not shown on the stage. At times, it also explains the symbolic importance of the events. The writer continues, there should be 2 choric voices and one should be of female and other should be of male. Instrumental music accompanying the choric should be minimal. Bharati in a note to the directors of the play. The plot of the play. The play Andha Yug 1953 is set in evening of the last 18th day of the great war of Mahabharata. The play was written after the turbulent times of partition of India and Pakistan that took place in 1947. It is a metaphorical play that mourns for the loss of ethical human values. In other words, it is an interpretation of modern turbulent times using symbolically and metaphorically the characters of the epic Mahabharata. The play begins with the Mahabharata war which took place between Kauravas and Pandavas for the throne of Hastinapur. The kingdom is burning and the battlefield is now covered with dead bodies and vultures. It is about the post-war disconcerted survivors of the Kaurav clan. However, when Pandavas own the war Kauravas, who lost once again decides to avenge against the Pandavas, Ashwasthama releases the Brahmastra, the ultimate weapon that can destroy the world. The play centers on Krishna, who could not ensure peace. The significant part of the play is the presence of Krishna throughout the play. It tells us that ethical and moral values are always at hand in all the situation and times to human beings. It is they who have to decide the path. Characters. Ashwathama, son of Dronacharya, a Kaurava warrior. Gandhari, wife of the blind king Dhritarashtra, mother of Duryodhana and his 99 brothers, voluntarily blindfolded herself when she married. Dhritarashtra, blind king of the Kauravas, father of Duryodhana and his 99 brothers, husband of Gandhari. Kritavarma, born into the same Yadava clan as Krishna but fights against him on the side of the Kauravas. Sanjaya, charioteer of Dhritarashtra, given supernatural vision by Vyasa to describe everything that happens in the war to Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. Old mendicant, character who appears as an astrologer, as Vyasa and as the hunter Jara. Vyasa, sage and author of the Mahabharata, father of Pandu, Dhritarashtra and Vidura, bestows divine vision on Sanjaya and is capable of influencing events. Vidura, sage and half-brother of Dhritarashtra. Yudhishthira, oldest of the Pandavas, son of Kunti by the god Dharma. Kripacharya, Ashwathama's uncle, a master teacher of the warrior arts to the Pandava and the Kauravas, fights on the side of the Kauravas. Yuyushthira, illegitimate son of Dhritarashtra by a slave girl, the only Kaurava to take the Pandava's side in the war. Balarama, older brother of Krishna, a master teacher of the warrior arts to the Pandavas and the Kauravas, chooses not to fight in the war. Krishna, an incarnation or avatara of the Godhead Vishnu, assists the Pandavas as counselor and as Arjuna's charioteer. There are the minor characters too, like dumb soldier, guard 1 and guard 2. Now let us focus on the major themes and other relevant issues discussed or reflected in the play. The play deals with various issues and themes that are relevant and contemporary to all times. For example, Ashwathama represents the blind affection. Dhritarashtra presents misplaced loyalty. Yuyushthira represents important visions. Sanjaya, symbol of anguish. Gandhari represents anger, and Vidur becomes the representative of morality. Vyasa's Mahabharata is a narrative that reinforces the point of dharma, moral and ethical righteousness and conflict between the clans, that is Kauravas and Pandavas. In this great narrative of conflicts and dharma, Krishna is the focal point around whom everything spins and grows. Krishna is the center of the play, however, he is never seen on the stage. His presence is felt through the symbols like feathers of peacock, flute, etc. He is the axis at the same time. He remains beyond these conflicts or issues like good versus bad. His presence represents an end in itself. This faith in Krishna sustains the moral well-being of all principal characters. Aggrieved Gandhari curses Krishna to death and yet feel acutely sorry, and even Ashwathama admits the presence of divine peace on the face of Krishna at the time of his demise. Andha Yug, the title and the narrative present an age of blindness or Kali Yug, an age that is devoid of dharma, reason and peace. Similar were the situations and incidents after the partition of India. The play was a representation of the modern times, the degeneration of human values. Since the partition of the Indian subcontinent resulted in uprooting and displacing humans from their place of origin, butchery and savage atrocities on fellow human beings, disrespect to the modesty of women, and so on and so forth. one finds the similar conditions prevalent in the play, and the usage of words also direct towards it. For example, the words like half-truth, inertia, blindness, barbaric, deformed, and suicidal, and so on. The freedom for which people sacrificed their lives suddenly turned out to be disillusioned for the residents of both the countries. Further, the playwright uses the two guards as a metaphor to represent the predicament of the common man. Let us see a discussion. Guard 1. Honor. Guard 2. Disbelief. Guard 1. Sorrow at the death of one's son. Guard 2. The future that is waiting to be born. Guard 1. All these grace the lives of kings. Guard 2. And the one they worship as their Lord takes the responsibility for all of them. Guard 1. But what about the lives the two of us have spent in these desolate corridors? Guard 2. Who shall take responsibility for us? Guard 1. We did not violate honor because we did not have any. Guard 2. We were never tormented by disbelief because we never had any faith. Guard 1. We never experienced any sorrow nor felt any pain. Guard 2. We spent our desolate lives in these desolate corridors. Guard 1. Because we were only slaves. Guard 2. We merely followed the orders of a blind king. Guard 1. We had no opinions of our own. We made no choices. The two guards moves on the stage and emphasizes the hapless and concerns of common man, especially of the turbulent and times of extreme atrocities. However, common man was never the concern or central to the ancient narratives, but modern retellings situates and imagines their conditions. The works like Andha Yug and other varied and modern interpretation of ancient text have highlighted the agony of common masses that was silenced from a very long time. These retellings are significant for the changing times and also make the masses compatible to the changing times. Issues of morality and ethics in Andha Yug. The play brings to our attention the battle between the good versus bad, or dharma and adharma, duties and responsibilities of God and humans. The play, by bringing in Krishna as the focal point of discussion and his absence and metaphorical presence, draws our attention towards these complex issues and often vaguely understood concepts. Bharati invokes in the readers the emotions and sympathies for Gandhari, who has lost her sons in the war. On the other hand, we are forced to think that what role did Krishna play in the war? Why did not he stop the war and bloodshed? Like hundreds of Kauravas, we invariably refuses to hear the voice of God and blame him when our ambitions are not fulfilled. Refuse, like the Kauravas in the play, to gaze inwards and find within the sources of grievous wrong. Further, it seems simple and undemanding to ask what God has and ought to do for human beings, rather than questioning or introspecting ourselves how responsible we are for our actions and what we can do for God so that he searches for us. The figure of Krishna is very complex to understand. He is human with whom one can relate with, and at the other end, he is the God. His earthly presence makes humans to ask for his support to the actions of our contemporary times or desires. If he fails to respond to it, we turn away from him feeling as if he is the sole responsible authority for our wrong deeds. For example, like the Kauravas. Dhritarashtra. Vidura, for the first time in my life I am afraid. Vidura, afraid? The fear you experience today had crept others years ago. Dhritarashtra, why did not you warn me then? Vidura, Bhishma did. So did Dronacharya. Indeed, in this very court, Krishna advised you, do not violate the code of honor. If you violate the code of honor, it will coil around the core of a clan like a wounded python and crush it like a dry twig. Vidura, it from the very first day, it was obvious that the code of a might, the final arbiter of truth, was weak and vulnerable. Over the past 17 days, you have received news of the death, one by one, of the entire Kaurava clan. Vidura is correct in emphasizing that one cannot take virtue for granted, used it as per one desires, as a commodity or service whenever it is required, and forgotten in other times. Alok Bhalla writes, I quote, a moral life demands perpetual attention, and those like Dhritarashtra who fail to understand this cannot hope to escape the consequences. In the balance of things, then, it is right that at the end of all the carnage which he had failed to prevent, Dhritarashtra is consumed by a relentless forest fire, a manifestation of the desolation and the affliction of his soul. I unquote. Let us summarize the discussion. So, in this module, we have discussed about Dharamvir Bharati, the playwright. We came to know about his personal life. We also learned about Bharati's literary works and his style of writing. Further, we have discussed the play Andha Yug. We came to know about the background and setting of the play. We have discussed the plot and summary of the play. Then we have also discussed the characters in it. After then, we have focused on various themes and other relevant issues discussed in the play. Hope these are useful to you. Moreover, in this play, we have tried to focus on the recreation of the story of the Mahabharata. It is not only the recreation of the partly story of Mahabharata, but this play concentrates on the major event or incident of Mahabharata. What makes the Mahabharata as Mahabharata? It is not an easy task for the playwright to deal with such a central theme of an epic. We have discussed in this play that Bharati used the Mahabharata story in his play Andha Yug. He recreated the Mahabharata story in his drama in play Andha Yug in the very context of India's partition and its consequences. And Bharati related this incident of Indian partition with the greater philosophy of the human civilization, with the greater truth of the human civilization, and the consequences, what India faced after the partition, or India has been facing after the partition, is nothing new or unique, which is not found in the development of the history of human civilization. And that is why Bharati took the central story of Mahabharata, which is true for any civilization, the war and the deviation from the humanity, the loss of humanity, the loss of morality, the loss of love, ethics, and increasing existence of greed for the material world, greed for the mortal world. So in that sense, this play is very much symbolic. This play is very much political. We believe that this discussion is helpful to you to understand the play, and for the further discussion and and to know better, know more about this topic, you can consult the e-text provided here. Thank you.